Welcome to Open House Radio with Howard Cohen. Open House Radio goes where no other talk show has gone before. To the limits, to give you the best advice on real estate investments and opportunities anywhere.
People think this is going to be the same old real estate show. We're the originators, not the imitators. Here on Open House Radio, we deal in all things real estate. And don't be surprised to hear us talk about our favorite resorts or do a restaurant or a beer review.
Be sure to tell your friends to stream live and get out your smartphones. You're going to need them for Open House Radio. Now, here's your host, Howard Cohen.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Open House Radio. My name is Howard Cohen, and we are here with you every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on KDOW, and we're live. We are here live. I'm here with my partner, Jean-Marc Landau. Good morning.
Good morning, Howard.
How's everything with you?
Oh, awesome today.
Good. And we're live on the phone with is Scott on there? I think is he there? Hey, Scott.
Good morning,
Hey,
Howard.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great today. How are the listeners out there? I hope they're all well also.
I hope so, yeah. We can't really hear them unless they call us, so hopefully they'll call us and we'll be able to tell how they're doing. As a matter of fact, I should give out the number right now for that because we are going to be doing a lot of stuff today. We're going to be covering a lot of very interesting information, and we're going to be talking about asset protection, a large part of the show, and how to manage your estate and your assets so that you don't get in trouble later on. And I want to give out the numbers because there's probably going to be a lot of questions, and we're also going to be giving out an asset protection blueprint for people who are the first 25 callers. We're going to give a very big discount, $150 off a $350 price tag. Now was $500 for an asset protection blueprint that we can offer you, and it's really, really important if you're going to, have any hopes of retirement or keeping all the things that you have now. I would suggest highly listening to the next hour of this show. And as it says in the beginning of the show, take our number down in your smartphone. I mean, that's why they call it a smartphone, right? Because smart people use it the right way.
One would hope. Sometimes it makes us realize that we aren't all that smart because we can't run the thing, but that's besides the point.
There you go. Yeah, I know that's my problem. Every time I break one, I have to get a new one. I can't figure it out or something. But no, that's really true. I mean, these phones are an invaluable asset to investors and people who want to try to be efficient and make money. And one of the things I always say is, why wait when you're in an emergency into the time when you're really in an emergency panic type situation to start looking around for the professionals to help you? That's not the right time to be looking for the people that you want to be working on your most important things in life and your business. So what we need to do is prepare in advance, and that's what we're going to be talking about when we talk about asset protection. And what this blueprint is going to provide is a way in which you can prepare for the coming eventualities of retirement, your children growing up, keeping your assets and not having to work, like a dog the rest of your life and whatever. I mean, we want to make people's lives better. That's what we're trying to do, right?
Right. So asset protection really covers three different main areas. It's income tax reduction, it's estate planning or estate tax reduction, and liability protection. So all three of those have to be taken into account when you're structuring your assets. So when you're buying a piece of property or acquiring any assets, you need to have it in an entity that is going to serve you. So, for example, if you were to buy a property and put it in an LLC, you're happily going along, managing your LLC. Your LLC gives you some measure of liability protection. Let's say you then buy a property that you flip. So you buy a property, resell it a month later after fixing it up, whatever. You are now, all of a sudden, in the eyes of the IRS, a dealer. So a dealer loses certain tax advantages that a normal investor has, such as depreciation. If you are a dealer, you can't claim depreciation as a deduction on the existing assets in that portfolio. So if you have a couple of properties in an LLC and your LLC becomes a dealer, now all of a sudden your tax treatment changes and you can't use depreciation anymore, which is not a great position to be in.
Problem. Hello, ding, ding.
So this is where a little forward planning helps. If you are going to be flipping homes, even if you don't expect to, you should be buying under one entity for flips, and you should be holding under a different entity, a holding company. So when you buy things in your normal operating LLC, if you're going to hold it, then you should transfer that over to a holding company for long term. If you're going to be flipping it, leave it in the flip entity.
Yeah, that's. That's already. I'm almost confused myself, and I know what we're talking about here. So it's got to be a little bit daunting for people who really don't do this as a living. To be able to go through every day and think, well, hopefully everything's. It's got to create some sort of an animosity, or feeling of ambiguity as to what's going to be happening in the future, right, for people?
Right. Well, most people think, okay, I'm in business. I'm going to file a DBA, doing business as name. I'm going to set up my company. It's a Schedule C company, just a sole proprietorship, reporting taxes on Schedule C. You actually have business deductions as a Schedule C, but you're not taking advantage of what could be there. Becoming a corporation, for example, a corporation is God's gift to tax deductions, as I think we're all aware of these days.
A corporation, as we know, is an entity under the law, like a person.
A corporation is an entity under the law, like a person, and that has its own moral issues. The Constitution was...
Except it doesn't get to go out on Friday night and have a good time.
This is true. No, the Constitution was written for a moral people. And where you have corporations coming in, corporations are considered people, and yet their stated goal is to maximize the bottom line profit-wise. That's not a normal person. That is not what we call as people morality. When it's driven by the bottom line. So that creates. There's this ambiguity that creates this really tough situation.
Yeah, and people as they get older, they don't want to work as hard, and they've now accumulated more and more assets, right? And you run a higher risk of losing that the older you get, and then you're not going to be able to recoup so much because there's just not enough time. And also why throw away things that you don't have to? Why flush money down the toilet, so to speak, which is what happens when you're not planning and figuring out how to put all your ducks in a row and taking advantage, as you just said, of the highest possible advantage of these different situations.
Right. A lot of people concentrate on making money, and then they spend it. So it's not only what you make, but it's what you keep. That's important.
Exactly. That is what's important, especially, and we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to open the phone lines up if anybody has any questions. But, especially if you have children and, you want to leave something for them, we're going to talk about what type of a person might need estate planning, and then some more details about that when we come back. If you're one of the first 25 callers or one of the first 25 people that signed to the website for investmenthotsheet.com, we will give you the asset protection blueprint and consultation for a price of $350. That is $150 off the normal price. We'll sit with you and our asset protection team and go through personally. You can come to the office. We can go over the phone, whatever it may be, and we can sit down and go over your situation, what it is that you need to thrive. It takes. How does it? We'll talk about it when we come back. How it's going to work exactly, and then we'll get into who needs it. What's the phone number if you want to get on the line right now with us and give us a call? It's 800-516-1220. If you have a question about asset protection, real estate financing, give us a call at 800-516-1220. We are live here on Sunday mornings at KDOW. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Open House Radio on AM 1220 KDOW.
All right. I like that beginning. I wanted to wait for the music to start. Get us up a little bit on Sunday morning, little fish. for you out there in the San Francisco Bay. We're here with you every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. My name is Howard Cohen. I'm here with my partner, Jean-Marc Landau, my other partner, Scott Basson. We are talking about asset protection this morning. And, you know, a question, basically, people probably going to think, who needs asset protection? Well, everybody needs it, right?
Oh, everyone needs it. I mean, it can be from the nightmare story. You have someone very well-to-do. This was actually a real story. Gentleman owns 500-600 properties, very, very well off. And one of his toys was a plane, and he took two of his friends out flying one afternoon, and they crashed, and all of them perished, which was a true tragedy. But then the tragedy continued to unfold, where the widows of the two friends ended up with all 600 properties, and his own widow ended up with nothing. Why? Because all of those assets were under his personal name. Had they been under an LLC or some kind of limited partnership, all those assets would remain there. The other widows obviously would have gotten paid by the insurance, etc. But it went above and beyond that, and they lost everything.
Man, it's tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah, especially for the widow and the kids and
right.
whoever, you know, thought that they were going to be okay. Not only did they lose their dad, or their husband, but
they lost
They
everything.
lost all their money too. Yeah.
So and you know, I have one of my colleagues, a realtor, who just got named in a lawsuit for asbestos that was found in a building that he was the realtor on 14 years ago.
Man. Ooh.
So this is several transactions ago. The building has sold twice since then, but in this particular sale, in the due diligence, the buyer found some asbestos in the building. Now all of a sudden they're suing everyone in sight.
Now hopefully that realtor, as you know, I was a realtor for a very long time myself, has some sort of an E&O insurance policy in place to protect him against something that he may not have known about. I mean, or an error or an omission that he made, which I don't know the details of that situation. I don't really want to get into it. But.
Well, E&O policies tend to have a $10,000 deductible on them, but they also tend to exclude certain events such as asbestos.
Right.
So in this case, no, he is not covered.
Yeah, that's really that's a tough one too.
So there is something. I mean, if the limited partnership and an LLC can be set up as a limited partnership or a corporation. So
okay, before you go on, wait. I'm going to just give out the number again, and then I want to continue. If you want to get on the line, you want to call us. We're giving away a consultation and asset blueprint for $350. It's normally $500, and we're knocking $150 off just today for the first 25 callers and the first 25 people that sign up for. It's free on our website on investmenthotsheet.com. You can go on there, just sign up. It takes like 10 seconds, really, just to type your name and your email in there, and then we'll get you if you're interested in a consultation and an asset blueprint to help form some of the to figure out what you need to do, and then possibly to form some of the entities that we're talking about here. Okay, so give us a call. Also, you can call right now, 800-516-1220. That's 800-516-1220. Kevin will take your number and take your name and number, and if you want to talk and ask us a question, go for it. Go ahead, Jean-Marc. Now we can. Okay, so we're talking about limited liability.
Limited liability companies, or in this case, it's a limited partnership. It can be a family limited partnership or a general limited partnership. The way a limited partnership works is you're limited to your exposure is limited to the money you put into there. And in general, if someone puts $100,000 into a partnership, they can potentially lose that $100,000, but nothing beyond that can be touched.
Right.
So a limited partnership is just that. The limited partner is limited to what they put in. The general partner takes the brunt of the liability. So you want to make sure to structure this with the general partner being an entity or a person that has little or no assets.
Okay, now I think a lot of people probably know, if there's any kind of sophistication involved with, how long they've been doing it. They know, there's limited partnerships, there's corporations, there's LLCs, and all these different kinds of ways to form things, but they don't necessarily know which one.
Right.
I mean, they know, they understand that they're there, but it's confusing when you try to figure out like what the best fit for your portfolio is, right?
Right. It's very confusing because certain things that you do for liability protection are detrimental to you on the tax protection side.
Right.
And you may form a limited liability company in California, which really doesn't protect you very much, whereas a limited liability company in Alaska or Nevada might protect you a whole lot more. So you need to understand the differences between state and one state and the other. In terms of costs, in California, you're paying $800 a year to the state for the entity. In Utah, you pay $12. In Alaska, it's $50. And the protection in Alaska for $50 is a whole lot greater than what you get in California for $800. However, if your property is in California, you most likely need a California entity, but you only need one, even though you have multiple properties.
Well, now that we're all fully confused, no, no, it's very confusing, and that's the point.
It is absolutely confusing. But let me go into some really cool about limited partnerships, and it's something called the charging order protection. And when someone sues a limited partnership, so let's say someone sues a property owner because of whatever reason, and let's say they do eventually get a judgment. Right or wrong, they got a judgment. And how do they collect on that judgment? If the judgment is against a limited partnership, the only thing they can attach is the distributions of the profits. So at the end of the year or whenever it's set up,
not the asset
not
itself?
the asset. They cannot force the sale of the assets. But they can seize any distributions from the property, from the partnership, to the partners.
Okay.
So if your original paperwork on the limited liability company or the limited partnership was set up to where you have to distribute at the end of the year, your judgment creditor is going to get that distribution.
Meaning, okay, so let's back up just for a second and reiterate. So you're saying if you set the thing up maybe 5 years before with that in mind, that the distribution has to be done each year, then 5 years later, if something comes down the road, they could attach the distribution amount based on the fact that you had set it up that way 5 years before.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you can't. I mean, even though I say sometimes we can predict the future, and I can in some ways, and I will prove it. But I know you laugh whenever I say that, but I know I can actually prove it. But in a lot of times, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And
no, you don't.
You just have to figure out, the best possible course of action, which is what we're talking about here, is limiting your liability.
Right. So in this case, the limited partners want to make sure that they get their share of the profits. They don't want to go with just the sole discretion of the general partner or the managing partner. So they set up the paperwork to, at the end of the year, all profits must be distributed. Well, now the judgment creditor has their teeth in that has to be distributed. If you set your partnership up to where the distributions are at the sole discretion of the general partner, that general partner, let's say there is a judgment in place, well, you're not going to distribute that money because it just goes to the creditor.
You can manage it then.
So
Now you can manage it.
So you can either make loans to the partners to get that money there that way, or you can create another entity that's a management company, and you're paying the management company, which then pays the limited partners. There are lots of ways of rechanneling those funds to the partners without having to distribute them directly, in which case they would be attached by the judgment creditor. Now, what's interesting on this is, let's say you set this up and there are no distributions directly that can be attached. What happens really is the IRS recognizes that cash flow stream as income to the judgment creditor. Let me say that again. The judgment creditor is not getting a penny. However, the income stream belongs to them. They have the liability to pay the taxes on that.
So even if they get a judgment on you, they do not collect, the IRS can tag them for it?
The IRS can tag them for it. So the IRS is now tagging them for your taxes.
So that makes it less,
it's a poison pill.
Yeah, it's not a good thing for somebody else.
And 90+% of all our all our lawmakers are set up with this, which is why they're not touchable. We might as well join them, right or wrong, as long as the law is there.
They wrote the laws, and now they're using them for their benefit. Why aren't we, right?
There is no
there
is no moral obligation. It doesn't make you more of a patriot to pay more taxes than you have to. Now, as long as the laws are in place, we can use them, and that's what our goal is.
Well, I've always been a big fan of economic stimulation in markets. So if you save more money instead of having to pay it to Uncle Sam, there's a good chance you'll be reinvesting that money in the economy and actually helping to bring more So the fact of being a patriot and paying taxes, I don't necessarily equate those two things either. We all got to pay our taxes. We all have to pay what we're due. But at the same point, we don't want to, as I said, either throw money down the toilet or wind up with nothing in the end after working our whole life and, trying to save for our children. I mean, I have kids. You have kids. Our kids are older now. We don't want them to have to struggle sometimes. If we've already done the struggling for them, why do we want them to have nothing when we're all done with it? And that's
right.
What scares people. That's what scares me. I mean, it scares me that, like you said about the realtor, 14-year judgment. I mean, you've got to put your assets in somewhere where they can be protected so that you're not going to be susceptible to things that you just have no idea what could happen. I mean, there's just no way. Right. Plane crashes and judgments, things happen that you don't know about. So, all right, before we take a quick break, I just want to throw out a couple of give the number again. If you want to get on the line, we're offering a free asset consultation blueprint for you, and there's really no time limit. We're not going to say 10 minutes, come in, and we're going to kick your butt out the door. We just want to sit with you as long as it takes, go over what it is that you need to associate what you've got now to a large retirement in the future. That's what we want to do and help you to do and make sure that you can keep it. So if you've ever had a deficiency, maybe you're in foreclosure, maybe you're trying to get rid of your property, we're going to talk about deficiency judgments in real estate in the second half of the show. Perhaps if we get to it. We'll see.
If we get to it.
We'll try to get to it because I think that's an important thing to talk about, and I'd like to talk about that. But if you've got more than $10,000 in assets and you don't know about, putting your assets in the right – what do they say? Protect your assets, right? That's what you got to do is protect your assets, okay? And that's cover your assets, right? Okay? So if you got more than $10,000 worth, then I would say you got to give us a call. If you've got kids – that would be a good thing too.
We'll cover estate planning in the next segment.
Okay.
There's definitely some stuff there that just has to happen.
Right. I mean, if you want to retire with money, give us a call right now. If you've got undervalued or upside down real estate and you don't know what to do with it, give us a call. We've got all these things ready for you. We've got good answers ready for you right here at Open House Radio. Give us a call at 516-1220. That's 800. Toll free, 800-516-1220. This is KDOW, the Bay Area's business leader. My name is Howard Cohen, and we're going to be right back.
You're listening to Open House Radio on AM 1220 KDOW.
All right, good morning. Welcome back to Open House Radio. We're here every Sunday morning on KDOW. We are trying to help you save the money that you made in your life so that you don't lose it in the future. We're talking about asset protection today. And Jean-Marc, if they want to give us a call during the week, because obviously a lot of people don't like to just call on the radio. They want to sit and we're offering a good consultation and blueprint. Where would they reach us?
Oh, during the week, call 1-415-484-LOAN. That's 415-484-5626.
And that's the office, right?
That's at the office. You got it.
We're here right in town in San Francisco. And if you want to go on the website, you can always link to us and send us an email through the website, which is openhouseradio.info. And you can see all of our sponsors on there and link to all of their websites as well. We have a lot of really kind of cool sponsors, and we really work with you. We're real people over here. We try to help people to make their life better through what we know how to do, which is real estate, asset management, and finance. And of course, we've got Scott, backing us up on the legal end if we need it. And he's a great attorney. So if you ever need an attorney, be sure to call him as well. We're going to make sure to give out all his numbers, and you can link to his website through ours as well. So go on the web, openhouseradio.info, or give us a call at the office at 415-484-LOAN, LOAN, and we will be happy to sit down and schedule a time with you. Okay, so we were in the middle of talking about ways to hold real estate. Was that
ways to hold real estate? And just as we're going into the break, we mentioned something about estate planning. And the number one thing to do is to have a revocable living trust. And if you don't have a revocable living trust, then you need to get one. go online, find someone to help you do it, or call us. Again, you need a revocable living trust. Why? If you do not have one, then your estate automatically goes through probate. In probate, very often 50% of your estate disappears in fees. And
that is one of the saddest things that happens. And being in real estate for over 25 years, I can't tell you how many times I have seen this happen. And it's all, they say the pen is mightier than the sword. And it's true.
It's very
all you have to do is add a couple of lines, like you were talking about earlier, change a word or two in a contract, and it makes all the difference in the world to whether you end up keeping the money or whether you end up giving it away. So we want to teach you what those words are and how to structure the assets that you have so that you don't wind up with nothing in the end, or 50% of it,
Howard, I wanted to pipe up on this issue. John Mark mentioned getting a revocable living trust in the context of asset protection. It's not unusual for people to come into my office and try to avoid probate by putting their properties into joint tenancy with their children, for example. So often I have to warn them about this because as soon as they've done that, they've exposed their assets to liability that their children may have. And just like you mentioned the plane crash, John Mark, if their kids, who I assume would be adults at that point, are driving down the street, a 5-year-old runs in front of their car and they run them over, now your house could go to pay the judgment against your child's accident. So joint tenancy is not a good way to get asset protection. You're much better off with either a revocable living trust or some other kind of entity to hold your assets.
That's a great point, and it's right on topic because who wants to wind up in a liability situation? Nobody. And I think that not enough people honestly know the difference between what is actually benefiting them and what isn't. I think they may be in a, like you said, they come into your office, they think this is definitely the kind of a way we want to structure our situation, but it actually is not the best way possible, and not everybody can know what we know because we're in this business. They may be in another business and have really no idea what the best structure and form is. Scott, what's your number down at work or your website? We can give that out right now.
Sure, people can reach me during the day at 415-753-5245. That's in San Francisco. My website is www.bassinlaw.net, BASSINLAW.net.
Excellent. We have a caller on the line with a question. Let's go to her and see what Jennifer. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine.
Good. What did you want to know?
Since you're talking about assets and liability, I was just curious. We've got a 6-unit building in San Francisco, and how would you structure it to minimize any liability?
Okay.
We have tenants,
perfect.
And so I'll take my answer off the air if that's okay.
Oh yeah, that's fine. No problem.
Okay.
If that's the question, that's a good question. That's right what we're talking.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
Excellent question.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So there are two issues there. One is liability protection, and B obviously is tax issues. So in this one here, I would in order to limit liability, you want a California entity, California LLC, holding the building, managing the building. So if you get sued, then it's the LLC that gets sued, not you personally. Now, who owns that LLC? You don't want the judgment to go to the owner of the LLC. So, in fact, on this one, I would have the property held by an LLC and then owned by probably an Alaska holding company.
Nice.
And why Alaska? Alaska, Wyoming, and Nevada are probably the 3 most secure states in terms of separation of an officer's or an entity manager's liability versus the company liability. So in Alaska, basically, if the company is deemed liable, the officer will not be held liable. So in this case, if you have a California LLC held by an Alaska LLC, you both have you have an entity in California licensed to do business in California that has to be in place to hold a property in California, and then owned by a property.
John Mark, on the out-of-state entity. I can tell you from experience in trying to do my own collections for clients that once you've got an out-of-state entity being a principal in an organization in California, it becomes about 10 times more difficult to trace down the assets, where they are and how they can be attached. So there certainly are asset protection benefits to having out-of-state entities being principals in the companies that the LLCs, for example, that you have holding the asset.
Yeah, and plus you can go kayaking up in Alaska and take a little vacation while you're up there, right?
That's right. You have a reason to take a write-off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, then you can write it off, have a business meeting, and write off your vacation.
Right.
It's great.
I mean, the other thing you can do there is if the property is kicking off a fair amount of cash flow, you can actually set up a separate management company. The management company can be set up as a corporation that gives you additional tax deductions. So the management company, if you're running the management company, is going to take all the liability from you. Even so, if anything goes wrong, the management company gets sued is not even the asset holder.
Wow.
Or the Alaska LLC.
So now you're on third level.
Now
here.
you're on third level.
Yeah.
And let me make one more comment about how you're structuring this. You do need to make sure you're with a qualified professional while setting these things up rather than a do-it-yourself, because you have to be careful. There are the tax advantages. You can lose quite a bit of them if you put your asset into a corporation versus an LLC. So you have to be together with someone that knows how to put these together and put you into the proper entity.
Exactly,
Yes.
and that's very, very key. Is that a lot of people, they want to save a couple of bucks on something like that, and that's what ends up getting them in the end, and they didn't actually get accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. So it is. That's why we're talking about this right now, because I know there's so many people, and we always deal with this all the time. Is people would think, we've been doing this a long time. We understand. We're very comfortable in our situation. We've had our assets in this type of a holding situation or in our personal name for so long. Nothing's ever happened. But that's not the right way to think.
No, things do happen. Things can change.
Yeah, and if you've got, like I said earlier, if you've got children, you've got assets and people that you care about, you need to protect them.
Right.
It's vital.
Right.
Vital.
And just to finish the thought on the management company, let's say you have the majority of the profit from the property. Let's say you've had it for a while. It's positive cash flow. You can siphon those profits off into the corporation, the management company, and that management company can now pay your health insurance. It can pay all sorts of other benefits for you, travel.
You can actually get them covered by your corporation.
You can get them covered by your corporation. And what's really critical here, and this goes into what Scott was saying, to have these things set up correctly. I've had a corporation for years that paid my health insurance. So if you're a self-employed individual filing a Schedule C, you know that you've been paying. If you are able to afford health insurance, you don't get to tax deduct it. Now, why does every corporation in the company get to tax deduct, but you as a sole proprietor don't?
Yeah, I never could deduct the health insurance for my family.
So when I set up my corporation, I had my corporation paying my health insurance, which is wonderful. But every time I went into the hospital, I'd have to pay my copay. I had to pay for my medicine. I had to pay WellCare, etc. You can actually set up your company to pay for all of that. I have a restricted diet. I can actually tax deduct because my corporation is paying me this benefit. It pays for my specialty foods. So since I have to eat gluten-free, I get to deduct my gluten-free breads that I buy at the grocery store from my taxes. That's a medicine.
The pen is mightier than the sword. That's what I'm going to say to you.
And this was a revelation. This was that's wonderful for tax deduction. So you can just add them on. You get.
What's the number? Call us again.
415-484-LOAN. That's 415-484-5626.
All right, and you can get us on the web at openhouseradio.info. And if you want to sign up for the investment hot sheet, which we do have lots of great inventory, the investment hot sheet, it was really long a while ago, but it's gotten way shorter, down, because anything that really is a great deal sells right away. And we're trying to find people really great deals, and so they don't last very long. So if you're interested in buying some real estate, or if you want to get a consultation and asset blueprint done, which is what we're offering right now, for only $350 to anybody that calls for the first 25 callers and the first 25 people that sign up on the web. We will offer you that. We'll sit with you. We'll go over any of the structuring that we're talking about right here and see how we can best put your assets at bay so they don't get they don't have liability, and you're not at risk. Give us a call right now if you want to get on the line. We're going to take one more break, and we're going to come right back. The number is 800-516-1220. That's 800-516-1220. First 25 callers get that asset blueprint for a big discount. We're going to be right back, and we'll finish off with Open House Radio after the break. You know what that means, Stephen?
It's time to buy CDs, Howard.
That's right. CDs, DVDs, new and used. And where do you get them?
The best shop in California, Amoeba Records. The only shop in California that matters when you're talking about shopping for good music.
That's right. It's probably one of the only ones left, and yet it's the best one. So, who cares about the rest?
So we got San Francisco Amoeba. We got Berkeley Amoeba. We got Los Angeles Amoeba. My band Jane's Addiction did a concert at Amoeba in Hollywood, unannounced, on their stage. And after the show, I went and shopped and got some Olivia Newton-John and some Rod Stewart records.
And they're so cool over there, too. Like when you call over there, the owner of the store answered. One day I called over there. She actually answered the phone herself.
Yeah, they love music, and they love helping people find good music.
If you need any help with anything, you just ask somebody there. They got guys that are the most knowledgeable, guys and girls, I should say, that are the most knowledgeable in their industry and about the different music. And if they can't find it for you, they'll find somebody else that can,
That's
and
true.
they'll help you out. They're really cool about that.
And that's Amoeba Records in Los Angeles, in Berkeley, California, and San Francisco. They're helping us bring music to you on the American Rock Exchange. And we want to thank Amoeba, and I want to shop at Amoeba. I want to kiss it, hug it, and love it. Amoeba Records.
You're listening to Open House Radio on AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back. When you hear that kettle drum, that's my buddy Steven. We do a radio show together, and you heard him on the ad just there for Amoeba. That's Steven Perkins, my best friend, buddy. Love that guy. If you have any questions for us, we're here for about another 10 more minutes, and then we always stay late after the show. We try to, answer the questions that come in and talk to people for a few minutes longer. So if you want to give us a call, even if the show goes off, we'll be here for a couple of minutes. Call us at 800-516-1220. That's 800-516-1220. If you want to get on the mailing list for the Investment Hot Sheet, or you just want to get some information about us, go on our website. It's openhouseradio.info. You can sign up in the back right there on one of the pages there. It says, I'm not sure which one, but it's very simple. It takes just a second. And then that way we will make an appointment with you if you want to come in and talk to us during the week, and we'll sit down with you and go over all this. If you want to call us at the office during the week, you can get us locally here in San Francisco at 415-484-LOAN, L-O-A-N. That's 415-LOAN. And I'm not kidding when I say you should be putting these numbers into your phone, okay? You should just list it under real estate. It's really easy, and that way when you have a question about real estate, you just push real estate on your iPhone or whatever, and it goes right to us. So the number one more time is 415-484-5626, and stick it in your phone right now. And don't forget, okay. We're not going to really have time, I don't think, to talk about deficiency judgments this week. We'll probably get to it in the next week. And just to mention real quick, if you are upside down on a piece of real estate, you're trying to sell it, you're not sure what to do, you don't even know if you can sell it because of whatever reason, that would be a really, really good reason to give us a call during the week, because we deal with that all the time with people, and we're helping them through those situations. Okay, we got somebody on the line right now. Tessie has a question. You want to take that real quick? Tessie, are you there?
Yes.
What's your question, dear?
In California, how to protect the principal residence?
From all the bad people out there? Okay, is that it? That's a good question.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate that.
So that's, I mean, everyone needs to protect their principal residence before anything else, obviously. There are certain states that have homestead laws that protect the majority of the real estate. Florida is one of them, for example, which is why in Florida people have these huge, huge mansions. But in California, you get a $50,000 exclusion or something like that, and it really doesn't protect your equity enough. So the good thing to do is to form a family limited partnership into which you put, it's a limited partnership where the members are family members, basically. So that gives you that charging order protection. It protects you from liability. So the family limited partnership would be the owner of your primary residence, and then the owner of that family limited partnership is going to be your irrevocable living trust. So now you've gotten the asset protection, you've gotten the liability protection from the family limited partnership, and then you have the estate planning issue handled through the irrevocable living trust.
Now they can call up. We can sit down with them and go through all this, even if they don't get it right now while you're saying it, right? I mean, this,
absolutely.
And we're offering this $350 asset blueprint and consultation right now, which is normally over $500. If somebody wants to give us a call, we go through all this stuff, and we actually spend a long time planning all the, because a lot of people have very complicated situations. But what I want to talk about real quick before we finish here is some tax ideas, some things that you were mentioning, deducting your food even from. And writing that off the taxes, and I think a lot of people, because that basically goes right to your bottom line, right? I mean. Any money you save there is going to be money in your pocket.
Right, and the corporation, the way a corporation is set up, really allows you to deduct lots of wonderful things. And
such as? Give us a few examples.
And a lot of it is really just knowing how to do it and what to do it. So a lot of people take cruises, and a cruise under the IRS laws is not tax deductible. No way, no how. I mean, you can go on a cruise, you can take workshops, it can be a working cruise. You are not allowed to deduct it. However, if you have a business meeting at the port in which you embark and you have a business meeting at the other end, the ship can be deductible as transportation from point A to point B, up to $630 per day. So,
which is more than a cruise costs.
Which is more than a cruise costs, or certainly most of them.
I don't know any cruises that are more than $600 a day, although I haven't taken them anyway.
So all you have to do is set up meetings at the front end and the back end, and you get to deduct your cruise. I mean, it's
brilliant.
It's absolutely phenomenal what can happen.
That's really great. So and I know a lot of people they like to, like we were just talking about, writing off your vacation, right?
Right. I mean, the other thing, when you're traveling, your meals are 50% tax deductible, or 50% of your meals are deductible. So when you do your taxes at the end of the year, you have X number on spent on meals, you get to deduct half of that. Now that's at a restaurant. If your meal is catered, then it's 100% tax deductible.
Does that count room service?
That counts room service.
I like room service better anyway. So
literally, if you're at a hotel and instead of going down to the restaurant for breakfast, you have breakfast brought up, you can now deduct the whole thing.
Yeah, and even though it's a little more expensive perhaps, you've still got the deduction, which makes it even less expensive. So.
Now, one thing to do, let's say you have a nice house, and instead of holding a meeting and going to a hotel with some of your colleagues, you invite your colleagues to your house and you put them up for a few days. So they come to your house and you can charge them rent. They're paying hotel room in your house. They get to deduct their hotel charges. You then take the money that you got from that and you have food brought in to feed you, your lunches, your dinners, whatever. You are then expensing 100% of your meals. So you're taking let's say it's $1,000 for the rooms. You're taking that $1,000, putting it on meals. You now have $1,000 that came to you. You spent it. You have $2,000 in deductions for $1,000 spent.
I think either people should be listening to the show every week and taking notes, or just giving us a call, because the amount of information that you have. That's why I love hanging out with you, man. You just really give a lot of great info.
There's so many loopholes. I mean, this is part of the problem. But as long as we're not judging the problem one way or the other. we have certain rules, and we're going to play by them. If I have a chessboard in front of me, I know that the knight can move 2 squares one way and 1 square the other, and it can hop over something. That's just the rule, and I get to use it until it changes.
Right,
and
use it. One of the things that's I talked about this a few minutes ago, but I mentioned it again, is that even though you're saving money on taxes, you're re-stimulating the economy. And a good example, and a couple of years back, they gave the studios, all the Hollywood studios, a huge deduction. I think it was $500 million, exemption from taxes or something, if they kept their productions in California, versus they were taking them all over to Canada or New Mexico and going into other states and other countries to do the production of their stuff because they weren't getting the right tax break. So even though I'm not a fan of pulling money out of education, of course, because I have kids and I think that's the most important thing, there was some deductions made, as we know, from the educational budget and then given to the studios to write off their taxes. But guess what? Now all the studios decided right away, the day that was passed, the next day they came out with a memo. Okay, we're not leaving California now. Now we're staying in California, and we're going to keep working here and keep employing people here and bringing money into the local economy. And that's really what happens. If you can stimulate the economy through other ways, it's still just still benefits people, and even better sometimes. So that's what we're trying to do, is find the best way that everybody can benefit without having losing their assets. That's it. All right, we're going to wrap this up. I want to do a couple quick commercials for my sponsors here, and give the phone numbers where you can reach us during the week. If you want to reach Scott at the law office of Bassin Law, it's Bassin, BASSIN law.net, and you can reach us at ARC Funding at 415-484-LOAN. That's 415-484-LOAN. You can get us on the web at openhouseradio.info or sign up for the investmenthot.sheet.com, and that is free, and we'll be happy to help you with that. We look forward to talking to everybody. My sponsor, Kangen Water, Robert wasn't able to join us this week, but hopefully in the next week or two we'll get him back on here. He's got a great product called Kangen Water. It's alkaline water, high alkaline water, which is supposedly extremely healthy for you. You can find him on water4energy.com. That's water4energy.com for the Kangen Water site. Talk to Robert. Tell him you came from Open House Radio. He will be happy. And finally, our sponsor, the Velvet Margarita Cantina, with Carlos and Ava, the owners, Big Daddy as they call him. If you're in Los Angeles and you're going to L.A., it's voted the #1 Mexican place in Los Angeles. It's unbelievable. It's right on Cahuenga Boulevard between Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard. Velvet Margarita Cantina. Tell them I sent you, and you will not be sorry. So next time you're in L.A., make sure you plan a trip down there. All right, this is Open House Radio. Catch us next Sunday at 9 a.m. We look forward to hearing from you, and we'll catch you next week.